Lord Vishwambara enjoyed his pastimes in Navadvip, yet not everyone could see them. The pastimes in Navadvip described in Madhya Kanda are unlimited. The fortune of Srivas, the fortunate Srivas saw them in his own house. Srinivas, now it says Srinivas, but it probably means Srivas, served the Lord without any duplicity. For this reason, he and his family could see the Lord's Mahaprakash, or divine manifestation, being forbidden by Lord Chaitanya. Malini did not tell anyone about this. She constantly saw the childhood pastimes of Nityananda. Malini is wife. Lord Vishwambara said, Lord, listen, Nityananda. You always pick a quarrel with someone. Do not play mischief in the house of Srivas. Hearing these words, Nityananda remembered Lord Krishna and replied, you will never see me playing mischief. Do not consider me like yourself. Vishwambara then said, I know you very well. Nityananda replied, tell me what faults you find in me. Gaurachandra smiled and said, do you want to know your faults? You throw showers of foodstuffs in every room. Nityananda said, only a madman act like that. This is your trick to deprive me from eating rice. You do not feed me rice, while you yourself eat happily. Why else are you telling everyone about my misdeeds? The Lord said, I feel embarrassed by your misdeeds. For this reason, I am instructing you. Nityananda smiled and said, that is very good. Whenever you see me restless, please chastise me. You must have understood that I am indeed restless. After speaking in this way, he looked at the Lord and laughed loudly. Out of ecstasy, Lord Nityananda lost his external consciousness and forgot what he was doing. He then removed his cloth and tied it on his head. He laughed as he jumped about and staggered like a drunkard around the courtyard. Seeing Nityananda without any clothes, Gadadhar, Srivas, and Haridas understood that these pastimes were to teach some lesson. Vishwambara called out, what are you doing? It is not proper to act like this in a householder's house. A little while ago you asked, am I a madman? But now you are contradicting your own words. Can anyone's words embarrass a person who has lost his external consciousness? Nityananda floated in an ocean of ecstasy. Then the Lord personally caught hold of Nityananda and dressed him. Such are the inconceivable pastimes of Nityananda. Nityananda was like a maddened lion and could not be controlled by anything other than Lord Chaitanya's words, which were like a sharp iron hook. He did not eat rice with his own hands. Malini would feed him as her own son. Chaste, Malini knew the glories of Nityananda. Thus she served Nityananda as an affectionate mother would serve her son. Here's a really nice pastime. One day, a crow took a brass bowl and flew away into the forest. Soon, the crow flew out of sight, and a great anxiety filled the heart of Malini. Leaving the bowl somewhere, the crow returned. Malini saw the bowl was not in its beak. Srivas Pandit would become extremely angry because the bowl was used for offering ghee to Krishna had been stolen. Thinking that he would create havoc as soon as he heard about it, Malini did not say anything but simply kept crying. At that time, Nityananda came there and found Malini crying profusely. Nityananda smiled and said, why are you crying? Tell me the reason for your distress. and I will take care of everything. Malini replied, listen, Gosai, a crow stole a ghee bowl and left it somewhere. Nityananda said, dear mother, do not worry. I will give you the bowl. Please stop crying. The Lord smiled and said to the crow, oh, crow, return the bowl at once. Nityananda resides in the heart of everyone, and therefore, who has the power to transgress his order? Being ordered by the Lord, the crow immediately flew away, as Malini, who was overwhelmed with lamentation, looked on. Within a short time, the crow flew out of sight, and then returned there with the bowl in its beak. The crow set the bowl down in front of Malini, who knew perfectly well the influence of Nityananda. Seeing this wonder, Malini lost consciousness out of ecstasy. Then she stood up and prayed to Nityananda. For he who brought back the dead son of his spiritual master, who maintains all the universes, and who can bring a soul back from the abode of Yamaraj, is not at all glorious to bring a bowl back from a crow. For he who holds innumerable universes on his head, yet does not feel their weight, and for he whose holy name destroys one's nations, that has no beginning, what is the wonder that he brings a bowl back from a crow? While living in exile in the forest as Lakshmana, you constantly remained by the side of Sita as her protector. Yet, you never saw Sita except for her lotus feet. For you, who destroyed the entire family of Ravana by your arrows, what is the glory of bringing a bowl back from a crow? After realizing your powers and glories, Yamuna Devi previously offered prayers at your lotus feet. For he who possesses the power to maintain the 14 worlds, what is the glory in bringing a bowl back? No. Still, your activities are not insignificant. Whatever you do is eternal and confirmed by the Vedas. After hearing Malini's prayer, Nityananda smiled, and in the mood of a child he said, I will eat. As soon as Malini would see Nityananda, milk would automatically flow from her breasts, and in the mood of a child, Nityananda would drink her milk. Such are the inconceivable characteristics of Nityananda. What more can I say? They are already known throughout the world. His activities are extraordinary and incomprehensible. Anyone who actually knows him accepts his pastimes as true. Absorbed in transcendental ecstasy, the most effulgent Nityananda wandered day and night throughout Nadia. Some say that Lord Nityananda is a great yogi, while some say he is a great philosopher. Others may say whatever they desire, and why should they not say so? Whatever relationship Nityananda may have with Lord Chaitanya, I still keep his lotus feet within my heart. If, in spite of having the glories of Nityananda, hearing the glories of Nityananda one blasphemes him, then I kick the head of such a sinful person. In this way, Nityananda Prabhu resided in the house of Srivas. Lord Gauranga constantly protected him. One day, the most enchanting Lord Vishwambar was sitting in his house with Lakshmi at his side. Lakshmi was offering betel nuts to the Lord in great happiness. The Lord was so pleased that he did not know whether it was day or night. Whether Vishwambar enjoyed pastimes with Lakshmi, Mother Sachi, whenever Vishwambar enjoyed pastimes with Lakshmi, Mother Sachi felt great happiness in her heart. Knowing that this made his mother happy, the Lord spent time in the company of Lakshmi. At that time, the most restless Nityananda came to the Lord's house, overwhelmed in ecstasy. He stood there in the mood of a child without any clothes on. He was so absorbed in ecstasy that he did not feel shy before anyone. The Lord said to him, oh, Nityananda, why don't you have any clothes on? Nityananda replied, yes, yes. The Lord said, Nityananda, put on your cloth. Nityananda replied, today I will. Today I will go. The Lord asked, Nityananda, why do you act like this? Nityananda replied, I cannot eat anymore. The Lord then inquired, When I ask you something, why do you reply something else? Nityananda replied, I went there 10 times. In an angry mood, the Lord said, I have no fault. Nityananda replied, Mother Sachi is not here. The Lord said, please be kind and put on your cloth. Nityananda said, I will eat. Nityananda was fully intoxicated with ecstatic love for Lord Chaitanya. He heard one thing and replied something else. In this way, he laughed as he wandered about. The Lord then got up and personally put clothes on Nityananda. The son of Padmavati lost all external consciousness and smiled. On seeing these characteristics of Nityananda, Mother Sachi smiled. Within her mind, she treated Nityananda as her son Vishwarup. Often, Mother Sachi heard Nityananda speak exactly like Vishwarup and saw him in the form of Vishwarup. But she did not disclose this to anyone. She showed equal affection to both Vishwambar and Nityananda. On regaining his external consciousness, Nityananda put on his clothes, and Mother Sachi gave him some milk sweets to eat. When Mother Sachi gave 5 pieces of sandesh to Nityananda, he ate one and threw away the rest. Alas, alas, said Mother Sachi, why did you throw them away? Nityananda replied, why did you give them to me all at once? Mother Sachi said, I have no more sweets. What will you eat now? Nityananda replied, if you desire, you will certainly find them. To her amazement, Mother Sachi found those 4 pieces of sandesh intact within the room. Mother Sachi asked, where did the sandesh fall? How did they come within this room? Being struck with wonder, Mother Sachi removed the dust from the sandesh and happily came outside. On returning, Mother Sachi saw that Nityananda was eating those same sweets. She said, dear son, where did you get those? Nityananda replied, these are the same sweets I threw away. Seeing you in distress, I brought them back. Seeing these wonders, Mother Sachi contemplated, who is that person who does not know the glories of Nityananda? Mother Sachi said, oh Nityananda, why do you deceive me? I know you are the Supreme Lord, therefore please remove your illusion. In the mood of a child, Nityananda tried to grab Mother Sachi's feet, but she ran away. The characteristics of Nityananda are unfathomable. For pious persons, they are beneficial, and for sinful persons, they create obstacles. Even the Ganges runs away from the person who blasphemes Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda is Anantashesh, the supreme controller, the maintainer of all the universes, and the king of all the Vaishnavas. Whatever relationship Nityananda may have with Lord Chaitanya, I keep his lotus feet within my heart. I offer my respectful obeisances at the feet of the Vaishnavas and pray that Nityananda, who is none different from Balaram, may always remain my master. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Das sing the glories of their lotus feet. Very unusual chapter. In chapter 12, the glories of Nityananda. All glories to Vishwambar, the Lord of all the Vaishnavas. O Lord, please bestow your devotional service on the living entities and deliver them. In this way, Lord Nityananda and Vishwambar enjoyed various pastimes in Navadvip. Lord Nityananda was fully absorbed in transcendental ecstatic love for Krishna, yet he constantly behaved like a young boy. Nityananda spoke sweetly with everyone he saw. He engaged in dancing, singing, playing musical instruments, and laughing. Sometimes he roared loudly out of his own ecstasy. Hearing his roar, everyone became struck with wonder. During the rainy season, the waves of the Ganges were full of crocodiles. Yet Nityananda fearlessly floated in those waters. On seeing him floating, people became frightened and exclaimed, alas, alas! But Nityananda smiled and continued to float. Nityananda, floating in the Ganges, floated in the Ganges in the mood of Ananta. Not understanding his glories, everyone lamented, alas, alas. Sometimes he lost consciousness due to ecstatic love and did not regain consciousness even after 3 or 4 days. In this way, Nityananda performed many other inconceivable pastimes. I could not describe them all if I possessed unlimited mouth. By providence, one day, Nityananda came before the Lord while he was sitting. In the mood of a child, Nityananda had no clothes on. He constantly smiled, and tears of love flowed from his lotus eyes. Lord Nityananda roared loudly and repeatedly proclaimed, Nimai Pandit of Madhya is my Lord. On seeing Nityananda without any clothes on, the Lord laughed. The beautiful body of Nityananda was full of effulgence. The Lord hurriedly took off the cloth from his own head and put it on Nityananda, who simply laughed. Thereafter, the Lord smeared sandalwood paste on Nityananda's transcendental body and offered him a flower garland. The Lord offered Nityananda an asana to sit in front of him. Then the Lord offered prayers, while all the devotees attentively listened. Your name is Nityananda, and your form is Nityananda. Full of eternal bliss, you are directly Lord Balaram. Your traveling, eating, and dealings are all full of eternal bliss. There's never any diminution in your enjoyment of eternal bliss. How can human beings understand you? It is a fact that you are present wherever Krishna is. The most magnanimous Nityananda is absorbed in ecstatic love for Lord Chaitanya, so whatever he speaks or does is always approved by the Lord. The Lord said, Give me a piece of your coping. I have a great desire to have it. After speaking in this way, the Lord took Nityananda's coping and tore it into many small pieces. Then the Lord personally distributed these pieces to every one of the Vaishnavas. The Lord said, Tie this piece of cloth on your head. What to speak of others? Even the great mystic yogis desire this. Simply by the mercy of Nityananda, one obtains devotional service of Vishnu. Know it for certain that Nityananda is the full potency of Krishna. Nityananda is the second manifestation of Krishna. He serves the Lord as his companion, friend, bed, ornaments, well-wisher, and brother. The characteristics of Nityananda are incomprehensible to the Vedas. He is the origin, protector, and friend of all living entities. His dealings are full of transcendental mellows from Krishna. Just by serving him, one obtains devotional service and love of Krishna. All glory to the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, by whose mercy I have attained Sri Radha Govinda. Tie the pieces of his coping on your head with devotion. Go home and worship it with great care. Being ordered by the Lord, all the devotees practically tied those pieces of coping on their heads. The Lord said, Listen, devotees, drink the water that has washed the feet of Nityananda. As soon as one drinks that water, one will develop fixed devotional service to Krishna. There is no doubt about it. Being ordered by the Lord, all the devotees immediately washed the feet of Nityananda with water and drank it. Some of the devotees drank 5 times, and some drank 10 times. Nityananda laughed constantly and did not know what was going on. Sitting where he was, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, in great jubilation, personally distributed the water that had washed the feet of Nityananda. After drinking the water from Nityananda's feet, everyone became intoxicated and loudly chanted the name of Hari. Someone said, Today my life has become successful. Someone else said, Today my material bondage is vanquished. Someone said, Today I have become a servant of Krishna. Someone else said, Today is the most auspicious day for me. Another said, This water is so tasty that I feel sweetness in my mouth. What wonderful influence the water that washed the feet of Nityananda has. For just by drinking that water, everyone becomes agitated. After drinking that water, someone danced, someone sang, someone rolled on the ground, others roared loudly all the time. Tumultuous ecstatic kirtan was begun, and all the devotees were completely overwhelmed as they danced. Soon, Sri Gaurachandra roared loudly and began to dance profusely. Nityananda Sarup immediately got up and joined the Lord, and both the Lords danced in the midst of the devotees. One more page. No one knew who fell on whom, who caught whom, and who took whose feet on their heads. One cannot describe who cried by holding whose neck and who did what. The devotees did not fear that they were with the Lord. Both the Lord and his servants danced together. Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya embraced each other and danced in ecstasy. The earth shook by the weight of Nityananda's steps. Seeing his dancing, all the devotees chanted, Hari Hari. Being intoxicated with ecstasy, the two lords of Vaikuntha danced in the company of their devoted followers. Although the Vedas describe their, quote, appearance and disappearance, unquote, there is never an end to their pastimes. After dancing in this way for an entire day, Gaurahari sat down with his associates, clapping his hands 3 times. Sri Gaurasundar frankly spoke to everyone as follows. The Lord said, anyone who keeps faith and engages in the service of this Nityananda Swarup actually keeps faith and serves me. His lotus feet are worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Therefore, all of you show love to him. If a person maintains even a tinge of envy towards him, then he is not dear to me, even if he is a devotee. Krishna will never leave that person who is touched by the air that has passed by Nityananda's body. After hearing the Lord's words, all the devotees immediately chanted, Jaya, Jaya. Lord Gaurachandra becomes the master of one who hears these topics with devotion. Those who saw these pastimes of Nityananda Swarup know his glories and truth. Only Lord Chaitanya's most fortunate associates know the unlimited influence of Lord Nityananda. And the final, accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. And that's the prelude to the Jagai Madhya story. That's coming tomorrow. What was it like living in Navadvip during this time? Wild. In public forums, when it comes to these 2 chapters, and several times what Nityananda is coming before Lord Chaitanya or others in their household, not wearing clothes. I don't like to read it because who's going to understand this? But there it is. In putting the Lord Nityananda pastime to the side for just a moment, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in 2 of his books, one is Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. You've heard that title before? Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. It's Jiva Goswami. You know who Jiva Goswami is? Jiva Goswami, when he left home, with the permission of his parents, he was young, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. On his way to Vrindavan, he wanted to stop in Navadvip to see the places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. He was greeted when he reached Navadvip by Lord Nityananda, who came from his residence knowing that Jiva Goswami was coming, and he received him. And he took him to all the places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. It's Navadvip Mahatmya, he describes the glory. So in the earlier section, before taking him to the first of the 9 islands, which is Antardweep, which is the central island. Like a lotus has petals, and there's a world inside the petals. Antardweep is that, it's the center. Antardweep. The birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not in Antardweep. He describes that Lord Chaitanya, this is Nityananda speaking to Jiva Goswami, written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna are the same person. Within Lord Chaitanya, everything that's within Krishna is within Lord Chaitanya. And everything that's within Lord Chaitanya is within Krishna. Both manifest the fullness of sweetness, or madhurya, and both manifest, both possess the fullness of munificence, or mercy, or compassion. Both have these two in fullness. When one is attracted to the sweetness aspect of the Supreme Lord, they see the form of Krishna. When one is attracted to the munificence aspect of Krishna in its fullness, they see Lord Chaitanya. And so he describes the spiritual world. So there's earthly realm, and above the earthly realm, planetary systems, then Brahmaloka, and then the river Viraja and the vastness of the spiritual sky and the Vaikuntha planets. And then one comes to this, what's called Svetadweep. And in this abode of Svetadweep, we find Braja, Vrindavan, and Navadweep. This is more elaborately described in Jivadharma, same idea. Odarya Dham, the abode of munificence. Like we say, munificent. Momahavananaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most munificent, passionate, or kind, or generous. And Navadweep is the abode of munificence, or Odarya. And Krishna's abode is the abode of Madhurya, or Braja. The mood of sweetness characterizes all the pastime of Krishna in Vrindavan. And munificence characterizes all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and his associates in Navadweep. And in Jivadharma, he says that it's two halves of the same planet, Krishna Loka. And if you look on the cover, when you look on the cover of Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam, which was a reproduction of the very same cover that Prabhupada brought with him from India on the Jaladuta. There's the spiritual sky. Over here in the corner is the Mahatattva, the cloud of material energy, and Mahavishnu is inside the cloud. Then there's the spiritual sky, the spiritual planets, and there's Krishna Loka. And you look closely, you'll see in Krishna Loka there's Krishna with the gopis and Krishna with the cowherd boys and the different rasas. And then over here is Lord Chaitanya and his associates in Krishna Loka. That's Lord Chaitanya's eternal abode, is Krishna Loka. And he descends from there to perform his pastimes with his associates. And those who, so in Jivadharma, just reading it this evening, Lord Chaitanya is said, the worshippers of Lord Chaitanya go to Navadweep. The worshippers of Krishna go to Braja. And those who worship both manifest forms in both places. And eternally associate with these two lords. Having the same identity, manifesting more Odarya or munificence in Navadweep or Svetadweep That's also explained that the term Svetadweep has different meanings. It literally means white island. So there's the Svetadweep, that's where Kshirodakshay Vishnu reclines in the ocean of milk. Kshirodak, ocean. Kshirodakshayi Vishnu lies in the Kshirodak ocean, where the demigods go and where Dhruva goes after his ruling the earth planet for some time. Dhruvaloka and Svetadweep are the same. That's Svetadweep. There's also the Svetadweep in the spiritual sky, not within this material realm, but within the spiritual sky. Another name for Navadweep in that realm of Krishna Loka is Svetadweep. And that's where Lord Chaitanya eternally resides. He performed pastimes here. But he's manifesting this Audarya with Lord Nityananda and with the other associates. And it's really like certainly otherworldly, totally transcendental, mundane sensibilities doesn't compute. But it's Lord Nityananda in this mood of like a little boy. But there's the other associates, we've heard Pundari Vidyanidhi and Gadadhar Pandit and Mukunda and Haridas Thakur and all these names that are kind of new to somebody that's not familiar with Gaura Lila, which Chaitanya's pastime. But they're manifesting varieties of the same sweetness as in Braja, but with an additional munificence. The rasas are the same, the abodes are identical, the two lords are identical, just some manifesting more this and some manifesting more that. That's what our acharyas are teaching us, at least from these three authorities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta's explanation is found, if you want to look it up later, it's text 5 in Brahma Samhita. He quotes Jiva Goswami as saying the same thing. That is, the followers of Lord Chaitanya are worshippers of Krishna. And as worshippers of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, in their stage of perfection, they enter these two realms, Krishna Loka in Braja and Navadweep in Braja, or Krishna Loka. And it's astounding. It's astounding. So the truths of Lord Chaitanya, someone was asking what I think yesterday, why is it that it's more difficult to understand Lord Chaitanya than Krishna? Well, he's a hidden avatar, and all these things are mind-boggling. To a materialist, it just don't make any sense. And even to people who have piety and a theistic background, it's quite astounding, to say the least. It's incomprehensible. So it's far, 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 far beyond piety. And the mercy that they give is to everyone. Who's fit, who's unfit, not considered. Anybody, everybody, past piety, impiety, culture, language, birth, gender, race, qualified, unqualified, doesn't matter. The distribution, in this ecstatic mode, distributing love for Krishna, taste for the holy name, and hearing the activities of those that are tasting, and understanding truths that are just otherworldly truths, and they understand it. They're living with it. They're moving together with these lords, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. Very elevated. And one last thing. One of the nice, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, as I've mentioned several times, the author makes no attempt to explain or give scriptural references for anything. He just spontaneously glorifies. Distinct in approach is Chaitanya Charitamrita, where abundant references from all parts of the Vedas and from the writings of the Swamis and scriptural authority again and again and again, abundantly presented. So at least the context of these very astounding behaviors or exchanges of love with between Lord Chaitanya and his associates is scriptural references given to help understand the context of it. It's very challenging to give a scriptural context for these pastimes, but that's what Krishnadas Kaviraj does. It gives them the foundation of Krishna Tattva. On top is the top stages of love of God, manifested by Lord Chaitanya and his associates. It's a very special literature, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, so I don't know if there's going to be any questions about what we read or anything off topic. It's fine. See if there's some discussion.
Krishna Ji Maharaj. So, we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the Shikshashtakam prayers. Similarly, is there any such prayers instructed by Lord Nityananda?
Any prayers by one?
Lord Nityananda Prabhu.
I'm not aware.
So his
I most likely we would have heard if there is. I've not heard. I can't say no, but I've not heard. Not likely.
Also, by hearing these pastimes, we know Mahaprabhu himself is hidden avatar. Mahaprabhu is hidden avatar, but Nityananda Prabhu is more.
He's a madman.
Difficult to understand. At the same time, we are asked to approach Nityananda Prabhu to get the mercy of Mahaprabhu. So how do we? What is the best way to understand within our capacity about Nityananda Prabhu's glories?
Here's three things. Prabhupada writes, this question came up in one of these interviews. The Chaitanya Charitamrita topics are so elevated. How are we to understand them because they're so elevated? And Prabhupada writes, the answer was given, Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, just hear and try to appreciate. That's his recommendation. Another is by chanting the Panchatattva mantra. And there's something special about the Panchatattva mantra that helps us understand Panchatattva. And read the literatures that describe these words. Especially, Vrindavan Das was a disciple of Lord Nityananda, but in Krishna Das, entrance into Vrindavan by the mercy of Nityananda. So he has great affection for Nityananda also. So read Chaitanya Charitamrita, I guess I could just say. Krishnadas Kaviraj reveals truths about him that makes it a little easier to understand, at least for me, than from Chaitanya. Although Chaitanya Bhagavat is very sweet and delightful. To understand Lord Nityananda best, Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a whole chapter in Adi Lila dedicated. And the main thing then is to understand his position as Balaram, the various manifestations of Balaram, and that's who Lord Nityananda is. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was wondering about the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is it so Antardweep, is it the same as Mayapur or?
Antardweep is one of the 9 islands. There's 9 dweepas or islands that made up Nava Dweep. It's the central island. And they're not exactly shaped like like petals of a lotus, but like petals of a lotus. And the world that's at the center of those petals is Antardweep. Now, the islands were made by tributaries of the Ganges at that time. Those same tributaries have shifted and shifted many times. So we know what was the configuration of the 9 islands during the time of Mahaprabhu's presence. So there's many, many maps showing it. It's like, not literally, but like petals of a lotus with Antardweep at the center. So when we say Mayapur, it's Mayapur is part of Navadweep. It's like our ISKCON temple. It's in Sridham Mayapur, but it's not in Antardweep. Very close by is Antardweep, but it's Sridham Mayapur. Our ISKCON Sridham Mayapur is not in Antardweep. So Mayapur applies to Navadweep, I guess you could say. They're not synonymous, but they're connected.
Is there a temple there now? Is there a temple there in Antardweep?
Oh, yeah.
Birthplace?
The birthplace of Mahaprabhu. Oh, yeah.
Because I've been there, but so many people claim this is the place, this is the place.
No. It's well known. It's a place that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jagannathas Babaji, and Bhakti Siddhanta, and there's a temple, the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. At least those who are Acharyas, they accept it. Now, I mean, it's a detail. Many people can say many things, but one of the challenges that Bhaktivinoda Thakur faced, this is a historical, in the early 1900s, he was living on the other side of one of the tributaries, the Jalangi, and he discerned that the birthplace of Mahaprabhu is not on the western side of the Ganga, but the eastern side of the Ganga. Because that's what scripture says. There's many details without going into all the details. So he established that the birthplace of Mahaprabhu is over here, not over there. And the people over there, in the new city of Navadweep, saying that's the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, it threatened their livelihood. And you threaten somebody's livelihood in Bengal, you're risking your life. I mean, just the way it is. But he risked his life to establish the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. He was fearless and protected. So he established it. And Jagannath Das Babaji was brought, who confirmed, you know that story. And he, Bhaktivinoda, went door to door, means risking his life, asking people for 1 rupee. Any pious man will give 1 rupee to build a temple for the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. He was making the declaration, that's not it, this is it. And he was respected, and he survived. And then after he had a little place, then he instructed his son build a bigger place So when his son was excavating the foundation for the temple, they found in the earth the Adhokshaja Vishnu deity that was worshipped by his father, Jagannath Mishra. So an archaeological finding that verified his, the conclusion. This is the birthplace. Then there was another step. Bhakti Siddhanta requested the British government to establish a post office and call it, the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, post office. So there was like, the people on that side of the river were like, no, it's not over there, it's over here. And he did his research and concluded, no, it's over right near where it presently is. So the British government confirmed. Anyway, so different people can, for their own purposes, can claim many things. But those acharyas mentioned and archaeological findings and the British government, and so it's that the birthplace is in Anjali. There is a temple there, Gaudiya temple. Nice temple, nice deities. And the little Adhokshaja Vishnu deity is on the altar.
Thank you, Maharaj. Can I ask another?
Yeah.
So, you said that those who worship Lord Chaitanya, they go to...
Take the mask back, it's from your muffled, I can't hear as well.
You said that those who worship Lord Chaitanya go to Shvetadvip.
They go to Navadvip. Navadvip, yes.
In the spiritual world?
In the spiritual.
Yes. So, and you said that those who worship both Krishna and Lord Chaitanya are present simultaneously in both places.
That's what our acharyas tell us. That's what I said. That's what our acharyas say.
Yes.
Everything. Talking about it specifically.
Okay. Yeah, I understood that. And you also said that those who worship Lord Krishna go to Braj.
Yeah. Of course, it means they have become pure devotees. They go to Braj, yeah.
Right. Is it possible to worship Krishna without worshipping Lord Chaitanya? For us, even.
For us? Well, I mean, that's supposing there are people elsewhere that worship Krishna. Can they worship Krishna without worshiping Lord Chaitanya? Sure. And their destination, put it this way, according to Lord Chaitanya's teachings, which are the Srimad Bhagavatam's teachings, that to enter into Vrindavan, one must follow the associates of Vrindavan, the perfected souls of Vrindavan. Otherwise, yes, one can worship Krishna, but one will not go to Vrindavan. One will go to a place where Krishna is worshipped. And there are different places besides Vrindavan where Krishna worship, but that particular mood of love, of service to Krishna and Braja must be approached through that method just described. Becoming followers of the perfected souls of Braja. Then you can go to Braja. I mean, in the stage of perfection. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, sure.
Krishna Maharaj, thank you for sharing the ecstatic mood of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Mahaprabhu. And like I can feel that like you are enjoying and I can able to see the vibes. Thank you for that. My one question is, in the other avatars, I don't see Supreme Lord glorifying his associates. Here, Mahaprabhu personally glorifying Nityananda Prabhu and like asking devotees to do some certain type of activities to get his mercy. Is it something on it? My question is it something he's giving the directions to serve the devotees of the Lord so that we get mercy, or is there any other significance, Maharaj?
Is there the last part?
Is there any other significance that
Yeah,
Maharaj-
certainly what you said is one of the significances. Another is it's the nature of the place. Navadvip, the nature of the Navadvip place is munificence or compassion, or extending this kind of kindness to others in an unchecked, unbridled way. It's teaching us practical application. It's teaching us how to honor other devotees. As followers of Lord Chaitanya. It's again and again how it happens. We discussed like this, the response when Lord Chaitanya was not calling Mukunda. And they wanted Lord Chaitanya to show his kindness to Mukunda. They weren't disrespectful to Lord Chaitanya. Hey, but it was done in such a way that he showed his kindness to Mukunda. And then he was glorifying Mukunda. Anyway, it's just the nature. That's the lesson. How we can be appreciating and directly expressing our appreciation of other devotees or another devotee. Now, this is at the stage of perfection, but it's teaching us a principle. Okay. Anything? Okay. Do you have anything online?
No.
Okay. See the key?